So, Mark chapter 5, we get to see Mark using his favorite literary technique. It's called the sandwich technique, where he starts with one story, then he interrupts it with another story, only to come back to complete the first story after he tells the second story. But now you have to read the first story in light of the second story. So, the question to ask as you're reading this is, how does the second story change or heighten or help you to understand the first story better? So I hope you enjoy your reading of chapter 5. Now let's see what my family has to say about it.
Verse 34, he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." I just like that because Jesus is emphasizing how it wasn't necessarily just some magic that he's doing to heal people. It's from a place of faith, and that in their faith they can gain strength.
Well, and a couple verses later in 36 it says, "Don't be afraid, just believe." So it kind of goes on with what you were saying too, is with the faith and the believing it can happen.
39 through 42-ish, it says, he went inside and asked, "Why is all this commotion and weeping? The child isn't dead, she's only asleep." The crowd laughed at him, but he made them all leave, and he took the girl's father and mother and his 3 disciples into the room where the girl was lying. Holding her hand, he said to her, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, which means, "Little girl, get up." And the girl, who was 12 years old, immediately stood up and walked around. They were overwhelmed and totally amazed. That's just incredible because it was announced that she was dead, and he helped heal her.
In this chapter there's a lot of healing, I think. And it kind of is a different, last chapter was all these short little stories, and now they turn into healing different people.
He prayed a lot for like healing and stuff, but that was, it just wouldn't happen. He is stuck like he is, and that was something that we talked a lot about in youth group and Bible study, and how he struggled with how come it happened to him, and why did God let it happen to him, and why isn't he being healed?
I think some people lose faith.
Well, I don't even necessarily blame it on losing faith, because I've seen people very strong in their faith have very negative things happen to them, and that's not necessarily why the negative things happen to them. Kind of like
No, I think she's trying to say, sorry to interrupt, but I think Mom's trying to say that as a result for them not being healed like they wanted to be, they start to drift away from their
okay,
faith.
no, that's
Am I
100%.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, that was with Dylan, and he had to find his faith again. He had to basically find God again with it, because he really hated God for a little while, because sports was his life, and he was gonna that's how he was gonna get to college. That was his plan, and then it was all taken away from him, and he had a big struggle with his faith because of it. Because
I was gonna say sometimes these things could sort of be like a test from God to see if something bad does happen, if you'll still believe in him and have strong faith and follow what he wants you to do. To see if you have trust with him.
Do you think, speaking of all that, because in here when it talked about that woman who was sick, the one that had been bleeding for 12 years, and, she just touched Jesus. Why do you think she just touched him and didn't
because she was probably
approach
scared.
him?
She was scared to ask for. It's a scary thing to ask to be healed, because I don't know. I don't understand necessarily why, but it's hard to ask for help a lot of the times. There's a sense of pride, maybe. There's a sense of what if they say no? Then I'm just stuck in my problem. So what's the point in even trying to get rejected? Because rejection is almost worse than just dealing with it. There's a sense of do I even deserve to be healed? What have I necessarily done to be
Because
healed?
she did admit at the end that it was her that touched him, but I was just, it's just interesting that she chose just to touch him and not, you know.
Well, yeah.
So
like
it
I
kind of
said,
brings back the thing, why, about what, how do people handle that? Maybe she didn't know if she would be healed or not. And
I think maybe in a sense she didn't think that Jesus would just heal her, so that's why she just touched him that way. Like in her eyes, like if I just touch him, it'll like his healing will occur.
sure.
Because I like all the reasons that I just said. I think that might be why she didn't just go up and ask for healing. Because that's a big ask.
Also, another reason too, maybe could be because like she had a lot of adrenaline because she was like, okay, I know he's here. I want to ask him, or like I want to be healed, and she just didn't think things like all the way through in a sense, because it was just like a big deal. It's like sometimes when big things happen, you don't always think everything through.
So, what do you think about the questions that were raised in discussion? What does Jesus mean when he says to the woman, "Your faith has made you well"? And why does the woman try to touch Jesus in secret? Well, I hope to see you again on Monday. We'll take the weekend off. My family will kill me if I keep doing it every day. And we'll start with chapter 6 on Monday. Have a great weekend and join us for worship.